And so, I will no longer apologize for my decisions or words. Bigotry is just a matter of perspective in this part of the world, and I respect that my husband holds homophobic tendencies because aren't we all a little bigoted? I mean, come on, it's no worse than using the word reek.
Well, what are you doing?
I'm just giving an English lesson, by the way. You know I majored in English, right? Some people are too damn sensitive. By the way, yes, smell shaming is totally a thing, but my husband loves the smell of an Italian sub, so die mad about it, haters. You like short hair? I can have short hair. You like blondes? I can be blonde. Hyper. You're gonna get it. Eurobees and shit. Hello everyone, I'm Steve. Marc's around. Say hi, Marc.
Hey, everybody.
And this is Smokey, Steve, and Marc. Either welcome or welcome back, and happy Saturday. It's the weekend. Know what that means. You can have coffee in the afternoon. Hazelnut creamer, powdered, and a little bit of Splenda. We're getting there. So I hope everyone's well and safe. Look after yourselves. Look after each other. Today we're going to catch up with our fair lady, Chantal Marie, Foodie Beauty, Big Beautiful Me, the Daily Chantal, Chantopolis, Sala and Chantal. And Foodie Beauty again at the moment. She always comes home. Take that as a standing observation. She always comes home eventually. So last week we were live, and what we kind of talked about was the regular nonsense that was going on. The hamster thing was a really big deal. How she got opposite-sex hamsters in a cage and then blamed the guy at the pet store. She did eventually do the right thing and take it back, but not before she had to take notes from all the people she thinks are stupid to go do it. Let's see. Fake marriage? Who's paying for what? Question Chantal having Sala's manhood in a cup on her nightstand. Because he seems to be sitting back and letting her just run his life on her decisions. So, let's see. She's still all in it for Nader. That was the belief last week, that it all comes back to Nader. And lo and behold, he showed up this week. And that was pretty much it. So this week I wanted to touch on a few things. I know we had the Kuwait rage, and that was like overwhelming. I also know a lot of content has been made about stuff from earlier in the week. So I'm going to touch on it because maybe some of you guys hadn't heard. But by and large, is it news, and do we need evidence that she rages when she's mad at herself for not getting her way? How that manifests can look different, whatever she gets stuck on during a particular rage, whether it's Nader or Deedee or let's see, Shannon, French Fry Girl, Yaba, whoever she thinks she can get the most coin off of complaining about. So, she's not a rather modest married woman for a few reasons. I'll mention that. Again, the Kuwaiti rage. It's all our fault anyway. If we didn't push her, you know how she gets. That's abusive language. Anyway, her use of language and her stupidity in using it, and then talk about going forward, what could be next, because we're coming up to the end of January, and that's allegedly the time that her visa runs out. She doesn't have to go back to Canada, but she can't stay in Kuwait. Adds to that they are married on some level, but that even though she can't produce a document, no one would believe me anyway, because it doesn't exist. So, talking about that, and, well, let's just jump in. Now, she is still not a modest woman. She's certainly not a modest Muslim woman, because she's barely any of those things. She's 1 out of 3. Beyond that, she's just, her faithfulness comes off as really obnoxious and pious, especially considering her own track record. I know her past is her past because it happened last weekend, but so it bees. She's still the same entitled person. You took her out of Canada and put her in Kuwait, and for a couple weeks she was able to hold face. Or maybe thought she'd actually have this guy fall in love with her beyond just her paying him, $9,000 or whatever. That he would actually fall in love with her in the process. It seems he hasn't. And it seems he doesn't care what kind of reaction she gets from her audience, because my expectation is that he would step in and defend her because it's such a misogynistic kind of culture. And the roles of men and women are different, that he would, you know, keep her safe and defend her. He can't. He can't. Again, she's taking advantage of some guy's language barrier. So she can say whatever she wants and bury it under that. When that's not fun is when they start talking about you in another language and you can't understand. So, just saying. I suspect that she's starting to feel lonely again, which is why Nader came up. It's hard for her to keep company. I mean, I don't know if I've known her in a relationship with someone who paid for her. You know, she always has to come with the big bucks. To try to have an angle in the relationship. You don't drive and I'll pay for everything. That's isolating an individual. One of the first starts of an abusive relationship. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. And she's afraid of the reaction to her real self. Like, modest wife Chantal was not really Chantal. This is Chantal. This is Chantal showing her vocabulary, her maturity, her pettiness, all of it. I know they started it first. Oh, God. So don't take the high road. God forbid. Get in the ground, get in the mud, and start breaking all the rules you say shouldn't apply to you. Please do not criticize my this, my that. Do not criticize my looks. You look like a fetal camel. You know, not her. She looks like something else. But she'd go at Nads for it. She'd go at Deedee for it. She'd talk about how Deedee has a lot of masculine characteristics and about her weight and size, which, are you fucking kidding me? I don't know. I know she doesn't look in mirrors. She looks at filters. But if she could see what everyone else sees, and obviously what Salwa sees, I think he sees her the way the rest of us do, and he's just being polite because he thinks it's advantageous. I don't know. So, yeah, she's a perfect match with him, actually, because they kind of just live. People have compared him to Kuwaiti Pete's, that he's just along for the ride. She's got some sort of stake in his life where he doesn't want to upset her because she will remove something or take away something that he likes that she promised when she moved there. Money could be an issue because I think she said she made a ton, and once upon a time she did. And then she did a couple's channel and nobody effing cared and nobody watched. And now she's going to go back to what used to work and Nader and drama. The difference is I think a lot of people are just sick of it. They're sick of it. They're sick of her attitude. People are, and myself, you know, is it all scripted? None of them can act. So I could believe Chantal's part being scripted, at least the part about her being a nice person. That had to have been fiction. So I don't know. I'm not sure how that's going to flesh out exactly. I wonder what Salwa's friends think of her. Some of them had not so nice things to say. But I don't know. Again, it's our fault. It's our fault for watching. If we don't like it, we shouldn't watch. Who says who? Who says who? I don't have to like to watch. None of us do. None of us do. And you don't have to like the comments. And you have the authority to turn off communication, good or bad, when you just don't want to hear it. Essentially, it's like throwing a tantrum and then covering your ears, covering your nose, because I want to say what I'm going to say, and the reaction might upset me. So don't say insulting things and people won't insult you back. It's not that hard. Most people learn this in like kindergarten. It makes it easier to navigate the world when you don't have a contentious relationship with everyone you know. You know, and what's the common denominator among all her relationships and friendships? Her. So... And so in going into what's now being dubbed the Kuwaiti rage, which has been covered extensively, in comparison to the Cuba rage. Now, remember she was in Cuba. She seemed to be having almost a good time. Granted, she didn't leave the resort, and then she paid one of the employees for sex with a computer. But aside from that, up until like the very last day, she was doing fine. She went to karaoke. Even I was a little surprised, because I like to think it's never as good as it looks with Chantal. Just when you think she's on track, she ruins it. And that was, I feel like, kind of the situation with that. So the Kuwaiti rage stream that went on and on, nobody was spared. Nobody was spared from that. Makes Cuba Beach look like drag queen story time. She insults everyone. And again, we go with Deedee looks shaming, Nader looks shaming, insulting him for having a social disease that she had twice. other thing, like that. Everyone got pulled into it. The friends of Salah, Salah's friend's wife, she went in hard at. Now that woman has not said a peep. Okay, she hasn't said anything. Chantal's explanation of being rude to her is, oh, you guys don't know as much as I do. I do. She's a woman, and you hate competition. That's not that complicated. She doesn't like to have other women around. She's the kind of woman that says, I'd rather hang out with guys because girls are such drama. Guess what? She creates drama with the guys, too. It's not that much of a reach. Blaming other people for her choices during the rage also. I think she has Salah's balls in a cup on her nightstand, so I don't really think he cares at this point, because I would be probably feeling some sort of way if my new wife was going back and spending more time fighting with her ex than she does doing anything for him at all. She cook a meal? She sweep the floor? She do any of her wifely duties? No. Of course she didn't. She sits there and eats and then stays up all night while he's asleep and yells at people online because she doesn't like her life, so nobody else should like theirs either. It's kind of transparent and it's kind of unfortunate because that betrays a little bit of, I don't know, to the extent that she has any sort of shame, there must be a little bit of humiliation in having to have back-to-back relationships with people where your money was the most important thing and then everything else came after. And again, I think Chantal thought that both of those men would fall in love with her, buy that monetary transaction just from hanging out. And she'll probably get a few quick lays, but I mean, that's because, she thinks she's better looking than 90% of us. I won't wager in on that, but I will say, if you haven't had an encounter with a man that didn't involve paying for something, buying something, driving to go get them, again, her having leverage over the individuals that she's choosing to date, selecting people that may not be familiar with customs in the West, people whose English may be rather broken, which she takes advantage of. And that's how she selects her guys. And then she's surprised that they're not all they were cracked up to be. She can start with lies, but they shouldn't. That's misleading. She just changed her mind about what she was going to talk about to them. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else left out. Yeah, same Chantal, different country. It's her fault. I'm not saying don't lie, but if you provide multiple videos with conflicting information and leave them up with a comment section, one of the comments is going to be, you fucking lied. This isn't the same as what you said before. Changing your mind or being deliberately vague. Okay. Who brought all this up on her channel? There's a comment section. That means most people leave it open so you can comment on what you saw. Just because we don't like it doesn't mean it's not true. Okay? Now, there's horribly hateful things written in some of her comment sections I've seen, and they've been deleted. And they're as bad as she is when it comes to the bigotry and the shaming and whatnot. But that aside, it's mostly people saying, these two decisions don't reconcile with each other. When you said this, but then did this, what changed? I changed my mind. Can I ask why? That's the bigger question. Why'd you change your mind? Her motivation when she was still at the villa, I think, was laziness. Changed my mind because I'd have to get out of bed. Changed my mind because I'd have to put a bra on. Changed my mind because it involves going downstairs. And she's allowed to do that, according to her. She can be... Her defense is that she's unreliable and impulsive. That's no defense. That's run, don't walk away from. Why would you want a partner who is like that? Who would? I think even if you gave me his 10 grand, I still wouldn't go for it. Now, before we talk about some gay shit in a little bit, it's been suggested, and I don't know, that's really off camera, whether Salah might not be heterosexual, actually, and she's kind of being a beard for him to help him out a little bit. Mama Cass did a similar thing when she was younger, in her first group, the Big Three. It was during the draft for Vietnam, and one of her friends who was gay didn't want to go, and so she married him. So it's, a means to an end for some people to have the marriage. That's the goal. Love isn't the goal. Companionship isn't the goal. Support isn't the goal. That piece of paper, that ability to say, somebody loved me enough to stay with me forever. She's never going to see him again when she goes back to Canada. I don't think. I think they will all ghost her, and they'll keep her money, which is supposed to be an investment into the perfume company or whatever. Whatever. So let's talk about bigots, language, things like that. According to Chantal, who is practically a tour guide there at this point, homophobia, that kind of language, is just the way it is where she is. Others who are familiar with the region would be aware of that. I am familiar with that. And it's not just that it's a personal preference, it's that it's legislated, it's legal. In Syria, you can get 3 years in prison for, what do they call it? Carnal relations against the order of nature. And there's vigilante executions and torture. Vigilante means homophobic guys get together and beat up or kill gay ones. Now, saying that you respect that about him, what kind of guys do you think do the vigilante killings? Guys who don't like gay guys. Or people with internalized homophobia who are taking it out on others. There's always that too. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. What's interesting about her word choice, Mo Translate, you guys probably know the channel, another person doing God's work, is fluent and can understand what Nader is saying and then understand what, Sal is saying. And she can pick up on it. So they translate for the rest of us because just like Chantal takes advantage of their lack of English skills, they take advantage of her lack of anything. She has no idea what they're saying. All I can picture is 3 guys standing around talking to each other, cracking jokes, looking over at her, coming back to each other, cracking more jokes. And she's like, oh, what's so funny? Because she knows. She knows. So Mo Translates, apparently, according to Chantal, got it wrong because she had translated a whole long thing which included the hateful language that was being used. And Chantal said she doesn't get it. And even though Mo is like the perfect person to understand it, fluent in the language, very well informed on the culture, and Chantal, who speaks 3 words, says that she's missing context and nuance because there's different things this place and that place. Okay. She's a genius because she's bad. Just because you slept for 2 months, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. So, yeah, Chantal knows just a few words and she was taking it out. She was big on the R word. She actually put up a community post defending it, saying it's no worse than the word idiot. What she should have looked up was the word pejorative. She didn't, which was telling because, she tried to flex and act like she's smart and play word games and semantics, and all it did was show that she doesn't know what kind of a word it is at all. She doesn't understand. And she won't. She'll conveniently won't because it's not flattering. She'll conveniently let it slide because it's not flattering. So, it's part of how guys talk where she is. I can understand certain cultures, certain genders, certain this, may have in-speak that they use amongst each other. Like, I know other gay guys who say, hey, and they use the F word to, address each other. And I think it's meant to be, like, empowering, like, women using the word bitch. Like, ownership over that label, and that what's meant to be a shameful label, I will show you I am proud of, and that I am not scared of the fact that you and your friends talk shit. It's not a gay-friendly part of the world. She is correct that that's not Salah's fault. That's just where he was born. But when we know better, we do better. Would it be betraying his culture to not talk shit? What part of the Quran encourages that? I haven't read it, but I'm going to take a guess. It's okay, because Chantal hasn't either. We saw her in a mosque once. I doubt she ever went back. It was more like this fetishized romance in the Middle East that she has in her head, and she's trying to tell us that everything we're seeing is proof of that. And it's not. If you watch him, you don't have to be skilled in anything. Watch him. He doesn't look happy. He doesn't look interested. He pets her like a cat. They can't be romantic in public because that's against the law. But all the laws about everything else she did, saying some dude's wife is getting gangbanged by a bunch of people, all that other stuff. This is our modest Mary right here, the really changed woman who's found herself and found her peace. Again, this is what I was talking about. When she's herself, people hate her. When she lies, people hate her. So I don't know what room she has, but she also acts like it's on zero grounds. It's on YouTube. There's a comment section. People make reaction videos. This isn't new. None of this is new. What's new is that the truth is a lot closer to the surface this time than it's been others. And there's too many other people involved with their own motives that it would blow up the spot. Salah's friend. who made a really nice post. He was just worried about his friend, it sounded like. But also he wanted like another 1,000 subs before he would talk. So, I mean, not everyone's reasons in here are totally altruistic. Everyone's a little bit scummy, I think. But each scummy in their own different ways. So, and so when Chantal's using the R word or any other word, the nastiness is the point. She is not splitting hairs about how a word is used. She defends herself like a shit politician. You know, oh, just because I said it doesn't mean I meant it, so your word's no good. You know, if I were to call you some of the names you called other people, don't you think if you had a husband, he'd respond to that? Other people have had words with her too, and Salma's like, money's green, oh well, and just lets it go. If he cared, on any level, he would either probably try to defend her verbally, ask that she doesn't go online till things cool down, please stop embarrassing me, please stop blowing up my spot, I'm not a citizen of this country, but no, she just, you know, by drawing attention to herself, which is what a lot of people probably don't want, she draws all them in with it. And they figure if they're along for the ride, maybe they'll get a cut. So other folks who may be trying to get and monetize channels who are in his circle might have saw the sweet plum and been like, hey, they don't understand the kind of shit she's had to do to get people to watch. It's a fucking cringe show. It always has been, just the cringe takes on different forms. At least when she was binging and eating on camera, she was only hurting herself. Now she's decided to spread the wealth, you know, and she has this embarrassment of riches between Nader and Saleh. You know, who could be more happy as a person? Okay. Please don't take this out of context. But you look like shit in a sack. Okay. Edit. Cut. Begin. There's no point in mentioning that she likes to use the R word other than just to remind everyone she's still the dumpster fire in Kuwait that she was in Canada. Chantal likes to be rude in a casual way and then be able to defend herself. That's like when she talks about someone having a pimply voice. We all know, and Alex knows, that his skin is a little bit different texture than the rest of us. It looks like, you know, sounds like something he's pretty worked on or is more or less over because, hey, whatever he looks like, he's got good content, people like him, his channel's consistently grown, and he has a following and gets a lot of views on his following. And he's not mean, which gives her almost no ammo. So since he's not that cruel in what he says, she has to come back with something half-handed. Pimply personality. Why'd you choose that word? Why'd you choose that word for any reason? Because you want to be able to say, I didn't say he has pimples, I said his personality did. You bitch. No, you're gonna die alone. I'm sorry. You're gonna die alone. So speaking of death and disgust, Nader and Deedee are back in the mix. So she couldn't make it on her own, apparently. Before Nader, she didn't make that money, and since she hasn't. It was the drama and the super chats and people at the beginning thinking that she was really a victim of sexual assault, and then as time went on, it seemed kind of like fewer and fewer people did. Or fewer people were willing to give her the pity she sought for being an alleged victim of abuse. So she decided it was okay for her to bring up. So he's back. If she restarted the Foodie Booty channel now, let's say her channel got taken down and she started over, do we think she'd have back those 90,000 in a couple weeks? I suspect, though I don't know, that the numbers she's getting for her channel with Saleh would be a little bit bigger, but she's got to know doing something different like that won't work. Just because you have a couples vlog to make yourself validated and happy, it doesn't mean it's interesting to watch. It's not fun to watch a woman who can barely get around and her fake husband walk all over the place and do everything you can do for free in Kuwait City. It's a world-class city. It's beautiful. Have you seen the skyline? She hasn't. Probably not from the car or the plane getting there. The things that I think other people would be interested in this alleged, sort of travel vlog, she hasn't been to. And the places she did were not that interesting, and she put them on her couples channel. I think she thought there was like a huge underground swell of people who were really interested in that kind of dynamic. There are, but they're not the people she wants to see it. It's the other people reading through the noise and reading through her words and reading through what she's presenting and saying, Chantal, Do I have to even say it? And so the return of Nader and Deedee into the story and Chantal's community posts back and forth and her just ugliest self coming out. All of a sudden it's relevant because views are down. And they had a cut in it too. They had a channel, Nader and Deedee. They have a channel. Their relationship is different than Chantal's and Nader's was, but suffice it to say, she took a man right out from under you. Now I know that's a bruise, but let's call it what it is. She moved in, moved on, and you moved to Kuwait to try to run away from it. Well, that and other things, you know, pending financial, legal, whatever. That's off camera, right? So if Salah really wanted you, why would he put up with Nader? Why would he put up with any of the stuff that's supposed to be coming out of theirs? The idea that Nader's not doing anything but watching her, I believe that. Not for the rest of us who have lives, but Nader had just as much time as she did to sit around and fuck things up. So I think it's probably old territory for her. Plus, she misses the party favors, the loose sex, apparently unprotected, all of that stuff. She misses it. That's the real her. Gimme, more, F you all. That's pretty much the gist of her life, I think, at this point. So I'm not excited to see Natty Daddy back. It does expose a lot of Chantal's hypocrisy, though. Her interactions with him, where she'll say, people are size shaming me. Shaming me because she's round? Oh my god. Dying to be a victim, are we? Now, revisiting the slurs that Salah was using. I know it's not a slur there, but what's the intention? Is it meant to be flattering? No? Oh, I didn't think so. It's about as flattering as getting chucked off the roof or killed in the street. You know, it's not that big of a deal. Everyone's culture is very, very different. There's different. Praying 5 times a day would be different. Modest clothing would be something different. A modest demeanor would be even more. But that's, I mean, she can't play the part of a Muslim woman. She can't. She's too much of Foodie beauty to be able to completely change, certainly in that short amount of time. Nothing really did change. Remember in the videos, she's not Muslim. She wasn't, according to her. She was just living a modest life. What rando Western person puts on a hijab just because they want to be modest? It covered her bald head. Okay? Which she shaved. She wasn't sick. She didn't have an illness. She didn't get her hair treated and fell out from something, which I'm sure she would love to say. She shaved it off in a fit of pique because she was losing her mind between wheelchairs and her ex-boyfriend. So I'm not sure why she would want to revisit this, or why she even feels compelled to address that Nader has now started talking about her more and more and releasing information, voicemails, texts, more, and confirming some things people thought for a long time and that she had denied. So, back to language. Using different words and phrasing your words differently and, you know, that kind of thing, can kind of vary or alter the message of what somebody says. For example, somebody in one of the comments sections of Pete's, they were talking about Chantal when she got drunk and put the moves on him. Chantal, her defense of that, it's like her defense of one was what she hated about another relationship. Like, she said she hated being with Nader because he tried to censor her, he'd make her go back online and apologize, he'd make her go say it didn't happen, it was a misunderstanding. So, someone questions Pete's in the comments section and says, technically, isn't this sexual assault? She moved on you without your consent. Didn't ask first. And he was like, well, technically it was sexual assault. But, you know, whatever, technically. So Pete says this. She freaks out and starts going on a tirade again about Pete's, about how she just doesn't know. She's alienate all your friends. The one guy who's been your ride or die, alienate him too. Okay? Let your boyfriend talk shit about him because it's normal there. You're not going to defend your friend? Or is he only your friend when you need a fork? Whatever. So yeah, kind of a little thought, and then we're going to bring Marc in. As I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, you know, the kind of big girl, skinny guy. He's got a mouth on him, like that whole kind of setup. It reminded me of an episode of The Golden Girls, if you watched, that Blanche, her daughter, who used to be a model, became very fat. And she brought home her then boyfriend to meet Blanche. And they used to have issues with their thinking it was about her weight. Her daughter thought her mother didn't love her because she got fat and blah, 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 blah. So we meet the guy that the daughter's with, and he is a piece of garbage. Makes fun about her weight to her face, tries to laugh it off, thinks his jokes are funny to other people, and it just looked humiliating to the woman because she looked like she was putting up with unacceptable behavior because she was afraid of being alone. Where did that happen? It was just a thought. It just mirrored that for me for a second, and eventually the daughter grew some self-esteem and made a better decision. That's not how this is going to end. It's not going to end that way here. But that's one way it could resolve itself. So Chantal doesn't have to, she's choosing these people to be in a relationship with. She chose someone that doesn't like X, Y, or Z, and then she tried to hide from them that she had X, Y, or Z. And then when the mask falls off, it makes a thud. I think he's very surprised, Salah, about the woman she is now versus how she presented herself to him. Which, how is that not lying? I'm really one way, but I'll act another, but then it'll all come out in the end. So you bought yourself a few mystery weeks of like, oh, we're in love, and play the Middle Eastern fantasy and all that dumb shit. And then reality comes back. It comes back for all of us, but Chantal doesn't like reality. So she kind of alters it for herself. Tries to alter it by gaslighting for other people, but at this point, I don't think anyone is as interested. I would not watch a whole lot of her coming back to Nader. What would be different? Fine, bring Nader back, but what's different? If nothing's different, then keep it moving. The new thing that's different is that she's fighting with her ex aggressively while she's so happily married to another person. You think she would just brag? She used to brag on Salah. Now she doesn't. She used to say he was gorgeous and he was this and he was that. Sure he was. And he can't stand you either. But he likes money and he likes not being in Syria. So it all works out for everybody. And again, I think she thought through this process they would magically fall in love for some reason. That she herself in this stage of her life is marriage material. And in a region, a place that he would expect very different behavior from her than it's possible to her to do. Like I said, she can keep it up a couple weeks probably. So that's where we're at for now. I do have Marc, who's going to be coming in and sharing a few thoughts with us on his perspective. He always sits in when I'm doing the research, so he had a few things to share. So let's bring him on, shall we? Marc! Yeah. Could you come here, please?
Hey,
come hither. Hello.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
You guys remember Marc?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
I'm still around.
He's still here. So Marc is usually present when I'm doing the research.
Yeah.
As such, he formed some opinions of his own. Now, we have
usually yelling at the TV,
yeah,
but
that is disgusting. But that aside, we were going over how her life is a little different now. This week she was talking about her husband's, poor choice of language and defended it. Defended her choices. I mean, it was a lot of defense, a lot of yelling. Pete's got dragged. Everybody, I don't know.
Oh,
Thoughts?
I know. Yeah, my thoughts.
Because
he does all the he does the research, kind of keeps up with her during the week and stuff. And I'm there some of the time, Mm-hmm. If it weren't for that, I would not be watching her. I mean, my one word for this past week is disgusting. This is her true character. Mm-hmm. This is like, unfiltered Chantal, so to speak. The arrogance, the ignorance, the self-centeredness, and the lying, and the manipulating, and the justifications, and it was, I always say, just when you think it can't get worse, just when you think it can't get worse, this week happened. This is a person who has proved that she has very little quality, in my opinion, with everything that happened, in particularly this week.
Yeah.
But what I did think was interesting were all these kind of characters that came out of the woodwork. We had Salah's best friend, a dear friend, he came out and he said, I just have some things to say because it's right. It should be said, And he made some accusations or pointed out some things that, I'm not here to say if it's true or not. This is what he said, like he was kind of saying things that were, like their marriage wasn't real. And, and actually that Salah had went from being like this engaged, happy, kind of friend and person, to a person who was very introverted and isolated and didn't have time for friends and a complete different person in the negative sense. And it all happened once she entered the picture, and then lo and behold, another person came out of the woodwork, kind of counteracting that, saying, no, their marriage is real, this and that and this and that. Now we have Pete's back in the picture and Nader and Deedee, the bottom line to me is what I found interesting of all this is, her views are down, her, she obviously needs money. She has said it herself. And that was one of the things that he alluded to too, was like that that Chantal gave Salah money before even coming there, and all of that, and now she's broke and needs money, and it just would not surprise me if it would be no surprise to me if this was all kind of scripted. Yeah. Now I don't mean like pen to paper scripted, but do they talk before the camera goes on? Who knows? This is more. I keep using the word scripted, but scripted than, the Real Housewives. Yeah. This would be a brilliant writer if there was a writer for this.
But they can't act.
Right. There's the thing. Right.
None of them.
And she knows that the only views she gets, the only reason people watch her is to see her eat or drama. So we need to stir up some drama. So all the big guns, everybody's back in the picture. And the most money she ever made was with the whole arc with Nader and all that crap, and now he's back in the picture. So I don't know. I found it very interesting that all that happened. I found it quite ridiculous that it all happened. I mean, this is a woman who said she was moving to another country, starting her life over, getting married in a loving relationship. There were like business opportunities happening and all this stuff. And this entire week, it was nothing but drama, talking to ex-boyfriends and like, I'm sorry, when we got married, if the next day I was on the phone, I was on the camera, fighting with my ex,
get out
publicly, how would it make you feel?
Get your ass on a plane and get back to Canada.
It would make me feel like shit. Like, I don't know. I feel like he's like another Pete's.
He is kind of a pushover, but she's ultimately number one.
But so she is, no matter what situation.
No, she'll either buy her way into it, lie her way into it, blackmail her way into it.
Yes.
Which I think happened with Nader. She tried to kind of force him to act like he liked her, but.
Right, I know. I don't know, but I did find that all pretty interesting. But again, I think that this is all just disgusting, and I don't know where it's gonna go. I'm assuming there's gonna be more drama, and more community posts. As of now,
she's MIA.
Right now, at the time we're filming this, she's still kind of MIA.
As of 5 Eastern time on Saturday, she's what'll happen before this video goes up.
Something will happen.
Something will come back and I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, and everyone's kind of talking to. They're like, she's either in jail, she's on her way back to Canada, or something.
It got pretty hot. Maybe she's just lying low, but she can't help herself. Usually, she'll let it go.
It's another control thing. She can be MIA and everyone's talking. Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? So when she comes back, boom, she has all the views again, which turns into money, which, well, you know how it works.
We'll see if everyone goes for it. People got real... she ran out of people who believe she was abused, so they stopped sending her money.
Right.
Not that she did or didn't. I'm saying people stopped believing it.
Right.
And so they stopped feeling sorry for her.
Yeah.
Because they thought she exaggerated about it.
Oh, yeah. And forgive me if my timeline is off on this, but for her to go off on garlic bread for, supposedly defending an abuser or something like that. After all that she did and, ignore, did she not see this?
She doesn't. She doesn't see that the way she says Nader treated her poorly is how she treats Pete.
See, I don't...
Make him apologize after he got on camera, made him take down the video, tell him it wasn't true.
Yeah.
Nader did all that to Chantal.
Yeah, he did.
Make her get on camera and clear up what she said. It's all the same.
Yeah.
It might not be abuse, but it's certainly manipulation.
Oh, absolutely. Manipulation, control, all those things, even self-centeredness. It's all of that, you know, wrapped into the big ball that is Chantal.
Uh-huh. Well, thank you, Marc.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I like my husband.
Oh, I like my husband too.
Good. Well, thank you, dear.
We'll see you next time.
We're just about to wrap up.
Okay.
So, what have we brought? What is going to happen here going forward? Well, Chantal's couple channel is... It wouldn't be a flop for someone else who's never been on YouTube before and we're growing their channel. But the fact that she's coming in with a number of 90,000+, which is what she probably told all of them when she came, was going to be guaranteed income. Views are income. Subscribers aren't income. So we'll see. With the couple's channel tanking, she's going to go back to her old channel and old things that worked. You know, she's trying to pretty much make reruns. Who wants to listen to another 3 hours a day of her insulting people like a toddler? And then getting offended like a toddler. You know, she said some people are too sensitive. Hello, Queen Beezer. We are the most sensitive. We feel we're being shamed for everything. Absolutely everything. How dare you try to make me feel bad about the poor decisions I make? You don't have to feel bad, but that doesn't mean people aren't going to point it out. If you feel disappointed in yourself or you feel ashamed, that's not the same thing as other people doing it. Just because you don't like the way you look doesn't mean you blame it on the people who say it out loud. So that's all I have. I think going forward, we'll see. We'll see if she's back in Canada. We'll see if she stays in Kuwait. We'll see if Nader and Deedee move to Kuwait. You know, anything could happen at this point, it seems like. And again, all with the caveat, like Marc had said, scripted. So if it's scripted, it's a shitty show. If it's unscripted, it's a shit show. We'll just leave it with that. So thank y'all for watching. Thank you for being here. Please do subscribe. Hit the notification bell. You get alerts when we have new videos and go live. You can find us on Facebook, SmokeySteveAndMarc, or on Instagram, it's SmokeySteveAndMarc. Email address, contact info is all down there. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow. We go live at 6 p.m. Eastern. So it's very chill. It's a no topic live. It's just hanging out and BS, and it's a good time. So, if you're free, don't hesitate to stop by, okay? Thank you. Bye. Say goodbye, Marc. He done gone already.